the prize of a year of free Star City Games Premium. This is something that if you don't already have, you're missing out.
Yeah, as we mentioned before, some really great writers on there. You know, Pro Tour top 8 competitors, Hall of Famers. Another player in the top 8 of the Pro Tour right now, Tom Martell, just picked up by the site, going to be writing. So,
yeah, I mean, one thing to think about. So one of our competitors, obviously, the inimitable Louis Scott Vargas. Happy birthday, LSV, by the way. He has said that he reads Star City Games Premium, and if our competitors read Star City Games Premium, you should too.
Yeah, you know it's good then. So we see both players shuffling up for what will probably be a pretty exciting match. We may see some crazy miracle bonfires. We might see the Orzhov guild leader, Obzadat, coming down. We could see Cartel Aristocrat, half of the Aristocrats deck, playing an important role. And then resilient threats from Andy. A couple of Planeswalkers, Liliana being very good against this kind of deck. Sorin producing stream of tokens, and Geralf's Messenger being problematic too. We see both players about to pick up their opening hands.
Just looking around the room, I can see the Legacy players beginning to mill about. Indianapolis player Chris Anderson here, Adam Prozac, Ben Weinberg, Open champion James Bush, numerous other players here ready to take on what I think is going to be one of the largest Legacy events that we've seen probably in a while. We'll have to find out. There's a large number of players here, yeah. And meanwhile, right here in front of us, Andy Ferguson and Eric Rill. One of these two will walk away, the Star City Games Open Series champion for the standard portion here in Cincinnati.
And it looks like Andy's going to start off with a mulligan. Eric thinking about his 7. Yeah, not even 9:30, and the hall is already filling up with people excited to play Legacy here.
Now, if you happen to be nearby Cincinnati, if you're out there listening and you're close by, just because you might miss making the opener here for the Legacy, we've got a ton of side events here, so make sure you show up if you can make it. It's always an awesome time Sundays here at the Star City Games Open Series. I know that one of my favorite things to do when I've been playing at these things, if I'm not playing in day 2, you know, if I'm not playing, you know, in the Legacy, because usually I would like to play Legacy. Let's say I get eliminated, I've always enjoyed making sure to get in on a draft, that kind of thing. So,
yeah. Lots of good side events.
Two-headed giant, if that's your thing.
Two-headed giant is actually one of my favorite formats. Just getting to play with a friend, you know, for a bunch of rounds. And
a quick shout out to Daniel and the Lion. I know you guys are pretty close by. So you should get up here, play some two-headed giant. They are the 2-time champions for the two-headed giant championship at Gen Con. So.
Oh, nice. So we see Andy start off with a Diregraph Ghoul, Eric with just a tap Stomping Grounds. 2 damage coming across for Andy, dropping Eric to 18. We see Andy with a hand of Orzhov Charm, looks like another land, and a couple other spells.
A little thank you to Jaron Parker on the Twitterverse out there, letting us know Eric Rill is the 2012 Ohio State champion.
So defending his home turf here.
Thanks, Jaron Parker.
Diregraph Ghoul comes across again, dropping Eric to 16. You see a Cavern of Souls come down. And it looks like it probably named Zombie, because it's being used to cast a Geralf's Messenger, draining Eric for, well, hitting Eric for 2 down to 14.
Now look at this opener. This looks like an old school standard opener from not so long ago. And this is exactly the kind of thing you were predicting, that Andy would come out very fast and Eric would be on the back foot immediately.
Yeah, we'll see if Eric can come back from this. He does have some very strong spells in his deck.
Oh, wow, look at this.
Oh, another Geralf's Messenger coming down. That card is very problematic for anyone trying to interact in combat.
I think Eric is going to need a Huntmaster here to keep up.
And
Garruk Relentless is not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, it'll do some work.
It's a quasi-Huntmaster.
Even with Huntmaster in this matchup, we might see something similar to what we saw yesterday with Huntmaster against these more aggressive decks, where it's getting to the point where if you drop a Huntmaster, and your opponent's already played out a few creatures, sometimes it's just a little speed bump. It doesn't take over the game the way it might used to have done. And we see one, maybe two, looks like potentially Orzhov Charms in Andy's hand.
Can see that Eric Rill here activated the fight ability of Garrick, and it looks like Geralf's Messenger comes across to finish off that Garrick.
Yeah, not interested in any death-touching wolves getting produced by that Garrick the Cursed. Garrick the Veil Cursed.
Yes. Eric Rill now at 5 mana Thragtusk. Oh boy, back up to 15. Andy Ferguson struggling here with only 3 land.
Yeah, so a quick start, but after those 2 Geralf's Messengers, not able to follow it up with much, and that Thragtusk comes down to pretty much reset the game. Not entirely, but it is going to be a blocker for that Geralf's Messenger and gives Eric a nice cushion of life. We'll see if Andy has anything at the end of turn here. Going to see an Orzhov Charm on that Thragtusk with the mode destroy target creature. You lose life equal to its...
I believe toughness.
Yeah.
But I believe it's a Vendetta.
Yep.
Toughness.
It is toughness.
Yeah, if you know the old school Magic card Vendetta, this is the Vendetta portion of the charm.
Yep, so he uses it with that mode, takes out that Thragtusk, loses 3 life, and the beast comes down because of the Thragtusk leaving play, and he draws...
In with the Messenger, Eric Rill chooses to what? He's thinking about blocking.
I think that's 2 more Orzhov Charms we see in Andy's hand.
Yep.
So lots of removal waiting in the wings for him, and just 4 cards for Eric. So
hits him for 2 more there as well.
I think I see a Bonfire in Eric's hand, a Farseek, and a couple of lands. So building up his mana base, that Bonfire, even not miracled, could become pretty dangerous.
He is only 2 land away from being able to Bonfire away that Geralf's Messenger, but his life total is getting precariously low.
And here comes a Farseek to help him get to that land count that he needs. And at 13, plays a Temple Garden tapped.
Does he have anything else? Is that it?
I believe his hand is land Bonfire at this point.
Wow.
And Andy...
Orzhov's Charm to bring back from the dead a Gravecrawler. This is going to be a lot of... a Diregraph Ghoul. This is going to be 2, 4, 8 damage, knocking Eric down to 5.
Yeah, and over these last 2, over this match and the last one, we've seen Andy use every mode of Orzhov Charm.
I think this is a way of saying Orzhov Charm is the real deal.
Yeah. And
who knows? Maybe we'll see Gruul Charm as the real deal someday as well.
Could be. Could be.
And I don't think it's a miracle, but here come the damned. And I think we might see Orzhov Charm returning Geralf's Messenger. Yep, back to my hand, he says. Back up here. Deal with this one more time.
So I said it was in the match, but even just in this game, we've seen 3 Orzhov Charms, all 3 modes.
Yep.
Andy really making the most out of that card.
And he draws another messenger.
This is really bad for Eric, just at 5 life.
Now think about this. Andy Ferguson has been completely choked on mana, and he is still pummeling Eric Rill into the ground.
Yeah, just showing the power of a quick start and those Geralf Messengers, and he takes down game 1.
I believe Eric Rill did the reverse, still had all these just there. He showed his hand, was like, yeah, still had all these land. Still had all these land. And Andy Ferguson clearly looks pretty happy with that result. Eric Rill looks like he's a good-natured sport about it. One of the things about Magic, you can't control what you draw unless you're a bad person. And, luck happens. So if you can just kind of deal with that and go on to the next game, best way to be.
Yep, we saw, and as you mentioned, we saw Andy take that down, even being stuck on just 3 lands.
So we are going to go to our Star City Games premium giveaway. As we were talking about earlier, This is for a whole bunch of time, 1 free year of Star City Games Premium. Now, one of the things I always like to talk about when people are like, oh, I don't know, I don't really like Star City Games Premium. Well, one, that's a little bonkers, but even if you are one of those bonkers people, what's important is that you get as much information as possible. Let's say you already know everything you need to know about Magic, which is not possibly the case, but let's pretend you believe it's the case. You should still be reading Star City Games Premium for reasons like this. You can be thinking to yourself, there's nothing on there for me except for this. You get to find out what other people are reading. And you know then that, hey, when I'm playing against this person's deck, this looks a lot like Jerry Thompson's list that he talked about on this, the last article he wrote. Let's go and look at it. Guess what? Now I know this person's 15-card sideboard. I'm playing on Magic Online. I know exactly what this guy is going to bring in. And look, lo and behold, exactly what they brought in, because they're following Jerry Thompson's playbook. Now, they should be. He's in the top 8 of his first Pro Tour. Good job, Jerry. But even if you don't think you have anything to learn from, the knowledge that Star City Games Premium puts out at such an incredible value, you should still be reading, because you know what? You'll know what's on the pulse of the Magic world. Now, in order to get this free year, hashtag SCG Premium. We're going to give you a trivia question. One lucky person out there will receive a free year of Star City Games Premium if they put down the correct answer with that hashtag. So all of the people with correct answers, one of you will be lucky enough to get a free year of Star City Games Premium. Now, the question I'm going to be asking you is very, very simple. For the card Orzhov Charm, there are 3 modes on this. Which one is the same as a spell from Mask's Block? Which one is the same as a Masked Block? Name that Masked Block spell that is one of Orzhov Charm's modes.
Yeah, we just saw Orzhov Charm really dominate that game, and it was an important mode.
Now, it is slightly different. Don't worry about the color requirements of that Masked Block card, but which Masked Block card is Orzhov Charm mimicking in one of its modes? Put your answer. Hashtag SCG Premium. If you are among the correct people with this answer, you could win a free year of Star City Games Premium. My suggestion, folks, if you don't already know the answer, go out, look at those Mask Block cards from, what would that be, 2000-ish, 2000, 2001, and give it a check. Now, we're going to go back to our sideboarding in progress. Andy Ferguson is up a game versus Eric Rill. What will Andy bring in? He just crushed his opponent in a heavy beatdown. I don't know. I mean, he seems really well set up. I could see him bringing in Vampire Nighthawk as an evasion creature, as well as a creature that can trade with, like a random creature from Eric Rill. But does he even want to do that? It's not a very strong beatdown card. It's more of a, let's trade kind of card.
I think we're going to see him bring in Appetite of Brains. Eric's got a lot of important cards that cost 4 or more. Restoration Angel, Thragtusk, Huntmaster, Thundermaw, Hellkite, and any potential things he's bringing in, possibly more Garrux from the sideboard. I mean, Eric is looking to ramp to these 4, 5, 6 mana spells. If Andy, for the price of 1 mana, can get one out of his hand, it's pretty good value. So I think we'll see the 2 Appetite of Brains come in. I don't think we'll see the Thalias. I think the Vampire Nighthawks are iffy for the reason that you mentioned. Don't think we'll see the Rest in Peace. Then the Near Hearth Pilgrim is also a little questionable for a similar reason to Vampire Nighthawk. He, as we saw in that game, wants to get out quickly, wants to press the advantage that he has in this matchup, which is that he has cheap creatures, he can start attacking early, getting Eric's life total down. He doesn't really need to be gaining life. And that life probably isn't going to matter if Eric takes over and has a bunch of 5/3s, 5/5s, 3/4s.
Right. I like what you're saying there, because if he just brings in only 2 Appetite for Brains, he gets to basically be the same deck that he was, and it looks like that's a good deck to be. Eric Rill, on the other hand, I think is going to bring in 3 Mizium Mortars and 4 Centaur Healer, and maybe go full stop right there. Mizium Mortars for the turn 2 kill a creature, and then the turn 6 kill all your creatures. And Centaur Healer just to buy time.
Yeah, I think Eric's got quite a few sideboard options. Those two cards you mentioned, we may see him bring in one or two Rest in Peace to fight that Messenger, to fight that Grave Crawler, fight half of Lingering Souls and the Resurrection mode on Orzhov Charm. But we'll see what he chooses to go with. His main deck is pretty solid as far as it goes. We may see him shaving a couple of Thundermaw Hellkites. It's possibly a little more aggressive than he's going to be able to be, especially bringing in those Centaur healers. So they're already off. Andy to another quick start with a Swamp and Diregraph Ghoul. Eric with a couple of Shock Lands, both coming into play tapped, not dealing him any damage. And Diregraph Ghoul comes across for 2, down to 18, looking a lot like game 1. And a Grave Crawler being considered by Andy does come down. Orzhov Charm, Obzedat, and Liliana in hand. See Eric getting up to 3 mana, and
Centaur
down comes
healer.
that Centaur healer you mentioned, bringing him right back up to 21, and providing a great blocker against those 2-power creatures. So we'll see what Andy has. Does
Lily.
Yep.
Edict
Takes out,
you.
and down 4.
Now, Liliana of the Veil is one of those cards I think I see misused a lot. There are a few places I like it. I like it in very aggressive decks. I like it in decks that actively use their graveyard. And I like it in decks that have aggressive card drawing abilities. And this deck is an aggressive deck, so I like it in here. But oftentimes I see Liliana in control decks without the other elements. And usually, it just seems really lackluster to me in those ones. It's nice to see it in a deck that I think it really fits. Ooh, Orzhov Charm says, you know what, Reckoner? I don't care what you can do. Get out of here.
Yeah, Orzhov Charm, a great answer to Boros Reckoner, destroying it without dealing any damage. So Andy doesn't lose either of his creatures. And Orzhov Guildgate comes down. A new black-white land from Gatecrash. Liliana goes up 1.
It's a land on either side. Eric Rill discarding a Cavern, and Andy Ferguson discarding a Orzhov Guildgate. I think we're going to see a Thragtusk here. There it is, Thragtusk. Eric Rill back up to 18. The life gain he has put here has brought him from 10 to 18 between Centaur Healer and Thragtusk.
Yep, and we see Eric Rill with a couple cards left in hand. Cavern coming down here. We'll see what it names.
Probably Advisor or Zombie.
I would guess.
Oh,
yeah, and,
look at that. Obzedat.
Orzhov Guild Leader does come down, draining Eric for 2. And
that's both discard, he says. I've got no cards in hand. What do you got?
not
I
exactly
cannot tell.
fair.
I think that's a land, but
I
I'm not
believe it
sure.
was a Temple Garden, and I think I saw him with a land left in hand. So that Obzedat gets blinked out, and this is a rough spot for Eric. We'll see what he draws, but that Obzedat is threatening to take this game over.
And we see a Farseek from Eric Rill. A quick shout out to, I already mentioned this earlier, happy birthday. Louis Scott Vargas, LSV, is, I don't know how old he is, but he's older.
1 year older now. And we do see that Farseek continuing to develop Eric's mana base.
And that was indeed a Temple Garden that Eric was discarding to Liliana of the Veil. Interesting right now, Eric Rill would love to be able to attack that Liliana, but cannot afford to based on the crackback that would happen to him.
Yeah, if he does, he would take at least 7 if Andy chooses to block with the Diregraph Ghoul, possibly 9. Then another 2 from this ability of Obzedat coming down. But now the Liliana's up to 3, and yep, has the Edict effect, down to just a 3/3.
Obzedat, is he going to come in? Here comes in the whole team, and we're going to eat the Gravecrawler, take 7. Eric Rill drops to 7.
Yeah, huge swing that turn. 7 damage from his creatures, 2 from the Obzedat's ability, Andy gaining 2. And this Obzedat just doing a ton of work. Great value for 5 mana.
Andy thinking about casting, I believe, a Diregraph Ghoul in his hand, but not sure if he wants to, actually, because he might be able to run the table with just what he has. Back and forth, the decision goes, back and forth. What if Eric Rill uses his Bonfire? And he does it. Obzedat blinks out, and back to Eric Rill.
Yeah, I think Andy's comfortable doing that there, even with the potential of a sweeper.
Oh my goodness,
Oh.
off the top of the deck, Eric Rill drops a Thragtusk. I think this is going to mean Eric is going to be able to safely throw his beast at Liliana, taking it out finally.
Yep, I think we will see that. And Obzidot's still going to do good work. Eric deciding whether or not he wants to take out that Liliana. No cards left in hand, so the +1 not going to be... Oh, he just chooses to pass.
Wow. That is actually shocking to me.
Yeah, deciding to protect his life total a little more with that beast, but leaving Liliana on the table, which represents a repeated edict effect, and we see an Orzhov charm drawn by Andy. I wonder which mode we'll see this time. All of them are live right now with that Diregraph Ghoul in the graveyard. Although I don't think we'll see that mode. Now that I've said it, he'll probably do that.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Ben Hayes. This is Star City Games Live, the Open Series here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Andy Ferguson on the left with Black White Zombies here in the finals of this Star City Games Open Series. Eric Rill on the right, the Ohio State champion from 2012, trying to defend his home turf here.
Yeah, up against the ropes right now against Obzidot, Liliana, Gravecrawler, Diregraph Ghoul, and a healthy amount of mana from Andy. Andy with an Orzhov charm in hand, considering all of his options. I think we're going to see the destroy a creature mode on that charm, but you know, Andy taking his time, trying to figure out how to maximize the damage off of this. I believe we're going to see it cast this turn, even though it is an instant, because I think he's going to want a +1 Liliana. And we do see that take out the Thragtusk, dropping Andy to 20 and putting a beast in play. And we're just going to see Andy pass, blinking out his Obzidot, and Eric draws. Doesn't look like it was a bonfire. Unless it's a very, very slow rolled bonfire. Eric considering his options, taps 3, and Oblivion Ring on the Liliana. Obzidot's ability really coming into play here, blinking out so it's immune to that sorcery speed removal. And Eric just has to use the O-Ring on the best target he has, which is that Liliana. That's there because it wasn't taken out by the beast the turn before, so forced to use that.
And the cost of that is so huge, honestly. Like, if he had attacked it, I don't think that Andy could have profitably attacked on his turn.
Yeah, I think that very well may have been the case. We're just going to see Andy pick up a card, blink out his Obzidot, content to drain for 2 every turn, and force Eric's hand. And we just see a Farseek from Eric. So, really looking for some action.
Eric is going to need a game-changer spell in order to take this game over. I don't know if I would bring in Garruk Primal Hunter if I were him. That's the kind of card he's going to need, though, is something that's going to be able to create a steady stream of creatures and then maybe card advantage, like a card draw.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what kind of answers he has to this Obzidot just dealing him 2 every turn. He's really, actually, in the whole deck, has no instant speed answers. So it's going to need to find something like a Thragtusk to get a life cushion, or we're going to need to see some crazy, you know, bonfire you for a bunch, Aurelia the War Leader, attack you for 18, some quick finish that races that Obzidot. But looking pretty grim for Eric up against the formidable Orzhov guild leader that has now drained a bunch of life, at least getting close to 10 at this point. Choosing to blink it out again, continuing this dance.
2 beasts on Eric Rill's side of the board. 1 comes in finally versus a Diregraph Ghoul, a Gravecrawler, and an Obzidot Ghost Council. So far, 10 life has been sucked away by Obzidot. Make that 12.
Yep, and a Centaur Healer comes down, so providing another blocker and giving Eric that little bit of extra life that we were talking about him needing to combat the Obsidian, but just 3, I'm not sure how far it's going to get him. And Andy with 3 cards in hand, because he's been content to just play, draw, go, draining 2 every turn, has built up some resources for himself. And we see Obsidian blink out again. Eric drawing, not a bonfire. Now, interestingly, those grave crawlers can't block, so and Aurelia actually does represent a very, very large amount of damage. And we see Eric has a Restoration Angel, so he can gain 3, add an additional 3 power to the board, and save himself another turn from that Obsidian.
Obsidian drains for the 7th time. Appetite for Brains is drawn, I believe.
Yep, I think we'll see that fired off, and I think we'll see Eric drop that Angel in response.
This removes Eric's ability to do tricky mid-combat things. And he shows a hand of a Rootbound Crag.
You see the Centaur Healer blinked, putting Eric back up to 6, buying him a little more time, and the Obsidian blinks out again.
I think that's another Centaur Healer.
Yeah, this is getting to the point where Eric's been able to gain a decent amount of life. Andy may need to find some way to get through with his creatures, or potentially be overwhelmed. I mean, the Naya deck can attack for a lot right now and chooses to come in for 6 to start that work. I think Eric's realized that he needs to end this game and actually needs to race the Obsidian as opposed to trying to lock it down with no instant speed removal in his deck.
The 16th life drained by Obsidian.
Jeez, yeah, just really providing a ton of value.
Andy Ferguson flooding out here. Not able to get any profitable attacks in. Still at a healthy cushion of life. He says go. Flips that Obsidian once again.
We see Eric draw. And now coming in for, comes in for 12. Really going aggressive, trying to put Andy on just a 2-turn clock, giving him a turn to find it out.
Wow, look at this. He just keeps gaining life every turn.
Up to 9, providing 2 blockers. Yeah, I think we might see Eric come back from this.
The reason I said that Eric needed a game changer like Garruk Primal Hunter is I was thinking he would need to draw card after card after card of answer. And Eric is just saying, you know what, the top of my library. That's all I need. Top of my library.
Been all hits so far after that bout of a bunch of land that he drew. I think we see an Orzhov Charm in Andy's hand and possibly another creature. But Eric's sitting at surprisingly healthy 7. There is a Diregraph Ghoul in Andy's hand. Something for 4 coming down.
Wow, that actually is a really big draw for Andy Ferguson. That Vampire Nighthawk, it stems the bleeding quite a bit here.
Yeah, and Andy now just needs to develop his board, and Andy's in a position where he has to block to survive. So I think actually Andy may...
I don't think that he can afford to blink Obsidian.
I don't think he can. I think he has to block with it. It looks like Eric has 2, 4, 7, 10, 19 power worth of creatures on the board.
Wow!
Oblivion Ring takes out the Vampire Nighthawk.
Oh
wow.
My goodness. Like I said, Eric Rill needed a game changer. He needed to have a steady stream of good cards. And you know what? It provided. The top of his deck was just like, how about every turn? Every turn I'll do it.
Yeah, down to, low single digits against an Obsidian draining him every turn, and just, Centaur Healer, Restoration Angel blinking the Centaur Healer, Centaur Healer. He was able to have those blockers, only take 2 a turn, and built an army and took down Andy in that game. A really impressive comeback by Eric. both players shuffling up for game 3. Eric looks pretty pleased with himself to have pulled that match out.
Back to our sideboard, we clearly see that the Vampire Nighthawk has come in. Andy Ferguson shaking his head a little bit. Oh, it didn't work out so well. Eric Rill now, the guy with smiles. Andy Ferguson shrugging his shoulders. This is a reverse of what we saw last game where Eric Rill, oh, you know, that's magic, and Andy smiling. Now, we're going to see game 3. Clearly the Vampire Nighthawks came in. Clearly the Appetite for Brains came in. We didn't see anything else. Eric Rill definitely brought in his Centaur healers. I'm not sure what else he definitely brought in. He probably brought in Mizium mortars. We'll find out.
Yeah, I would bet he did bring in those mortars. That's able to take care of most of Andy's early creatures, really all of Andy's early creatures, and then used late game, it's a one-sided Wrath, so we'll see how this goes. Andy looked really great in that game, just flooded out at the wrong time, and Eric had some nice draws, gaining some life after being flooded himself, and was able to come back into it.
I have to say, even though Andy lost that game, Obsidat really impressed me. And you can bet that Obsidat is the real deal. I know there was a little bit of debate whether or not it was, but just watching it this weekend, I cannot believe how impressive that card has been. Even more impressive than I was expecting it was going to be.
Yeah, one thing to really keep in mind is with that blinking ability, blinking out at the end of each of your turns, if your opponent is only playing sorcery speed removal, there's nothing they can do. They're gonna get drained for 2 every turn, and you're gonna have a 5/5 haste creature every turn. We're looking at Eric Rill's deck. He's made it all the way to the finals of this Open, and he has no way in his entire 75 to interact with an Obsidat on Andy's turn.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here in the booth with Ben Hayes. We're watching the final match between Andy Ferguson, Black White Zombies, versus Eric Rill, Naya Midrange. This is the last game. This is for everything. And Andy Ferguson, the more aggressive deck, is on the play.
Yeah, definitely very important for him. We saw how fast he was able to come out of the gates in both game 1 and 2. If he can do that and sustain it, I think it's going to be good for him. I believe that we see either a 1-land hand or very few lands for Andy. I did see an Appetite for Brains and a Cartel Aristocrat in there as well. Andy may be considering a land light hand with some cheap spells. He got choked on land game 1 and was still able to win. Got a little flooded game 2, as both players did, and couldn't quite pull it out. So we'll see what he decides to go with here for this final game. And thinking really hard about this one. Probably a situation where he's saying, I know I should mulligan this, but not wanting to go down an extra card.
And Andy Ferguson trying to decide, is he going to keep it?
I think if my lip reading is good, I think he said keep.
Godless Shrine takes 2 Appetites, or is it going to be a beater? It's a beater, Diagraph Ghoul. Usually best to start with the beater.
Yeah, getting that online early, getting the damage going. And Andy did not draw a land.
It might not matter if he's got more beatings going on. More beats. Ooh. Passes the turn. Now remember, Andy Ferguson has Appetite for Brains in hand. This stops 4-drops. Unless Eric Rill casts a Mana Accelerator here, Andy can spend another turn increasing his beatdown and not have to worry about casting Appetite for Brains yet.
Yeah, we'll see what Andy can come up with. Not Diagraph Ghoul, Geralf's Messenger drawn last turn. And a couple lands away from being able to cast that. Eric actually does have the Farseek and searches out a Stomping Ground, and Andy with another Godless Shrine right on time. The Cavern on Eric's side naming Minotaur.
Now, if I were Andy, I would make sure to cast Appetite for Brains this turn.
Yeah, it's a choice between developing his board a little more and casting that, but I don't think he can afford to face down a good 4-drop here. And Eric's hand is Bonfire of the Damned. Looks like on the far left, a couple of angels, Restoration Angels, a Huntmaster, a Farseek, and a Temple Garden, and we are going to see that Huntmaster get taken away. I believe it should be exiled.
It should be exiled.
Currently, looks like it's in the graveyard. And Eric still with those 2 Restoration Angels, and Temple Garden draws a Thragtusk. We'll see if he chooses to play that Temple Garden untapped and deploy one of those Angels, or play it tapped, get a Farseek out, and plan on playing Thragtusk next turn. If he does play it tapped, we're gonna see him take at least 6 damage from these 3 creatures of Andy's.
We go back. Oh my goodness gracious me. Andy Ferguson is going to be able to get in that 6 damage you were talking about. Here it comes.
Yep, dropping Eric down to 8.
Eric is in need of a Thragtusk.
Yeah, unfortunately, I believe he drew one last turn, so I think we're going to see... Ooh.
Cartel Aristocrat and Orzhov Charm in
Charm.
Andy Ferguson's hand.
Yeah, this could be pretty big. Eric also has a Bonfire of the Damned that he can cast for 2 now, sweeping Andy's board, and Cartel Aristocrat comes down.
Yeah, I think Eric is probably going to Bonfire here.
Yeah, it'll leave Andy with that Cartel Aristocrat if he chooses to give it protection from red, but seems like a pretty solid play. And one interesting thing about Andy's Orzhov Charms, that, another thing that's good about it that I hadn't realized, returning a 1-drop zombie, be it a Gravecrawler or a Diregraph Ghoul, allows you to return all the rest of your Gravecrawlers.
Right. And we see the Aristocrat give itself pro-red, and the remainder of the creatures all die.
Yep, and Andy takes 2, draws a Sorin.
Down to 6 for Eric.
Yeah, low life total, but I think that's about to change with this Thragtusk coming up. Yep, and Thragtusk comes down.
Back to 11. I think we're going to see an Orzhov Charm here. Which way will it be? He's like, my guy? No, Diregraph Ghoul returns.
Okay, and he knows that Eric has 2 Restoration Angels. Looking to draw something here.
Finally gets that 3rd land, Godless Shrine.
Does get a land. I mean, it's going to be pretty rough for Andy.
Ghoul. I don't know. I think that Orzhov Charm on the Diregraph Ghoul was too aggressive. I think if he was fully aware of Restoration Angel, even 1 copy, that Thragtusk had to die.
Yeah, both Restoration Angels were in Eric's hand when Andy cast Appetite for Brains on him, so this just represents a huge swing.
Oh, Kessig Wolfrun as well. Oh. I think Eric Rill might have just taken this game over.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for the Black-White Zombie deck to battle through that 3/3 Beast and that 5 life that this Thragtusk could potentially produce using Restoration Angel.
Andy puts his blockers in the way, says, show me the angel.
So Eric thinking about, pulls the trigger on the angel. And I believe also has a Farseek to develop his mana even more, making that Kessig Wolfrun just that much better.
I think, against the predictions of my friend Mariah, we are going to see a Naya mid-range victory here.
It looks that way. I mean, Andy is able to deal quite a bit of damage, as we've seen in previous games, but this is quickly becoming insurmountable. If the second angel blinks that Thragtusk, I think it's all but over. And we see a couple of Sorins in Andy's hand, and 1 card in the middle that looks like a Cartel Aristocrat.
Another Cartel Aristocrat, and from the graveyard, Gravecrawler.
So we could potentially see a pretty big swing if Sorin comes down and makes an emblem, but as we saw in Game 2, it's getting to the point where Eric's going to be able to go on the offensive soon and put Andy on a 1 or even 2 turn clock.
This is particularly true because of the existence of Kessig Wolfrun in Eric Rill's play area. This is going to mean that that Thragtusk will be able to get in for a really big trample later on, should it want to.
Yeah, he's got the trampling option with Thragtusk. He's got the flyer in Restoration Angel. And now the coast is clear for Eric to just use another Restoration Angel, blink that Thragtusk again, gain another 5 life, make another beast.
Oh my gosh, Oblivion Ring. Now this Oblivion Ring is not going to be very effective. The Cartel Aristocrats are safe from it because of the Gravecrawler they can sacrifice to no effect. The Geralf's Messenger would be the likely target here. Oh, everybody comes on in. Andy Ferguson going to have to make a big decision here. That Kessig Wolf Run can be pumped for 4. He is facing down the potential of a 9-3 Trampler, potentially, or a 7-power Flyer. He's going to have to put some blocks down.
Yeah, we'll see how he chooses to do this. Looks like Geralf's Messenger considering block on the Beast. Cartel Aristocrat getting in the way of that Thragtusk, as well as the Diregraph Ghoul.
Yeah, I mean, the block I like here is Geralf's Messenger on Thragtusk and double block the Beast, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, doing it the other way around does put 4 toughness in front of that 3-powered Beast.
And Eric says, you know what, I'm just going to make another Beast, gain some life.
He may have done it that way because he knew Eric was probably going to blink the Thragtusk and wanted to keep 2 creatures.
And Eric says, let's trade here, you and I, Beast for Geralf's Messenger.
And Eric goes, looks like up to 17.
Oh my God, is he up to 20?
Up to 20.
It's a new game, folks. 20 life.
Oh, we'll see if the life loss from Geralf's Messenger has been counted yet. And he does have 4 lands now and 2 Sorens in hand, but facing down a lot of damage and a Kessig Wolf Run. Even just the Kessig Wolf Run and those 2 Restoration Angels can finish Andy off, so not looking good for him at all.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Ben Hayes. In the final turns of the Star City Games Open Series Standard event, Eric Rill, the Ohio State champion, I believe, is about to defend his turf here. The Ohio State champion about to win the Star City Games Open Series here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think we will see that unless we see something pretty surprising. But I'm not finding any ways that Andy can come out of this one. And Andy just considering his options.
And the hand is extended. Eric Rill is the Star City Games Open Series Standard Champion.